2024. A fresh start. Out with the old, in with the new, as they say. New year, new fee. Next 200 by Harman Imaging, which is what we're going to talk about today. Back when Phoenix 200 was announced, Harman had organised an event where they invited a bunch of well-known film photographers to England to shoot Phoenix in preparation for its launch. I never got my invitation, it must have gotten lost in the post or something, which is fine, but now I'm late to the party. And because of that, you've all had to suffer through a litany of mediocre reviews of Phoenix 200. And I'm here to fix that.
Yeah, that is definitely a bird.
So imagine, if you will, that it's 2023. Kodak is the market for colour film by the cock. Fujifilm is nowhere to be seen, and you're a tiny little outfit called Harman Technology, responsible for producing such hits as Ilford HP5, among other bang and black and white films. What would you do? Say, f*** a wee ball and have a crack at making your own colour film, despite it being a significantly more involved and more technical process than producing black and white film? Of course not, you'd have to be a goddamn maniac to try that. Except that's exactly what they did, and the results are genuinely really impressive.
I got one with quite a shallow depth of field and one with quite a deep depth of field, because I quite like that composition, like an old boat.
So Harman Phoenix is a 200 ISO color negative film, and the reason that it's such a big deal is because Phoenix 200 is the first true new color negative film in a really long time. Sure, there's been various repackagings of Kodak cinema film, but Phoenix 200 is the first true new emulsion that has been developed, produced, and coated, all done by Harman in their Moberly factory. Of course, the film isn't without some quirks, or some unique characteristics, if you'd rather. Since this is a first draft, and as reported by Harman themselves, by no means a final product, that's how I'll be judging Phoenix 200. Phoenix 200 definitely has a distinct look, that being crunchy, contrasty, and grainy, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. The dynamic range isn't the greatest, which means that you may find high contrast scenes to be a bit challenging since the point between the highlights blowing out and the shadows falling off isn't massive. There is also the presence of halations, those red glowy orbs that appear around highlights in a scene, and that's due to the fact that Phoenix 200 doesn't really have a remjet layer. People either seem to love or hate halations. I don't mind them personally. I find that they can balance an image or add some visual contrast which can be quite pleasing in some circumstances, which is just as well since they were very prominent in some of my images. I haven't tried shooting Phoenix 200 at night yet, but there's also no Shell gas stations close by, so really what's the point? The closest I did get, however, was just after sunset at the Esplanade with all the street lights along the boardwalk, and if this shot is anything to go off, blue hour may be the go for Phoenix 200. So I've shot two rolls of Phoenix 200 to this point, one in very diffuse, very overcast lighting, and one in very direct, very bright lighting, which is actually a recommendation from Harman. I found that, as you'd expect, the look of Phoenix 200 did vary quite considerably when shot in these two different lighting situations, although overall I would probably say I prefer the look of the photos taken during the diffuse, overcast day, but that's just me. I found that a lot of the shots taken during the bright day really highlighted the characteristics of Phoenix 200. Take this shot here. This was taken later in the evening, the lights getting nice and soft, golden hours approaching, and these are the results. Like I've said in the past, New Zealand does have particularly harsh lighting, but this really shows the contrast and lack of latitude that this film has. By comparison, here's another photo, from earlier in the day, taken under much harsher light, except this time it was taken on Kodak Ultramax. Do I prefer the shot taken on Ultramax? Oh, without a doubt. But when it comes down to it, the film stocks we have available are just another tool to tell the story we're trying to tell or create the art we're trying to create. I'll take having more tools in my belt any day. So if this was a normal film stock review, I'd wrap this up with a question like, should you shoot this film? But with the context of Phoenix 200, the question really is, do you want to support the development of future film endeavors? Which, if you do shoot film, should be yes. I didn't buy Phoenix 200 thinking that it'd be a replacement for Gold 200 or Portra 400. I bought it with the intention of supporting Harman and their journey to bring more options to film shooters all over the world. If that sounds like something you want to support, maybe buy some Phoenix 200 and see the results for yourself.